So I went into Burma not really knowing anything about the country, and the country is stunning. It's beautiful. And so a lot of the landscapes I was on were on empty roads, where, I mean, I often wouldn't, no one would see me for, I think, well, one point I didn't speak English for about a week or 10 days or 2 weeks. There'd be about 3 hours or 6 hours in between cars. And so the place is like, it's beautiful, but it's also haunting. Because do you guys have to read Big Brother here? Is that part of it? No? All right, that's not gonna work. Don't worry about it. So has anyone here actually, you know when you're really scared? It's gonna sound weird, but when you're really scared, like something isn't working, like that feeling like I have a paper due in 10 minutes, I haven't started this paper yet, I have that like feeling of panic inside my chest, and like my way of getting through that is to write this paper or like make it up with my teacher, professor, whatever. And so people in Burma, when you like talk to them, are living in a constant state of panic because the military regime is everywhere within the country. And so when I would be biking around, I'd see all these beautiful landscapes, but no one would talk to me because they were scared to talk to me because they would get in trouble. Because Burma is like one of the worst military dictatorships in the world, and so the people are scared to talk to foreigners because they can get in trouble for it. That would be awesome. I'm pro people seeing the pictures. Can you guys see that now? Is that better? Did you guys see anything before? Okay. I mean, the best is yet to come, so don't worry about it. Alright, so I'm biking on roads like this that are technically roads, but they weren't that fun. I mean, it's like muddy, it rains every day for 6 hours, I don't really speak the language. I'm in a place it's kind of scary at some points. And about a week in, I'd been there for a week without having a real conversation with someone. And then as I'm biking one day through the mountains, there's mountains in the background. I biked up there that day. And so each day I would bike about 60 or 70 miles, and I would just try to talk to anyone I could to learn about the situation. And so this one day, I was biking across down the back of the valley you saw, and all I could see for about 20 or 30 miles was like huge stones being laid out, like they were building a road. And as I got closer, what I saw was, it didn't look that weird. I mean, there in Burma, you don't have heavy machinery to build roads, so a lot of the roads are built by hand. And so these people are building a road, and then something became really strange to me when all of a sudden, what you can't see in this picture is lined up every 100 or 200 meters is a soldier with an AK-47 who's watching these people build the road. And I learned later that how all pretty much major infrastructure projects are built in Burma is through forced labor. So they'll go to your house, kidnap you, and make you build a road or a military barracks or whatever for free. And so the reason that there were guys with AK-47s were to make sure these people didn't escape. And so this was about a week into my trip, and I was basically in a part of Burma that you're not supposed to be in. So my friend here followed me around for about the next 3 weeks on his moped, and I would be biking up the hill, and he followed me. I mean, it was like when you think of like spies, you think of Bourne Ultimatum or something really cool. And this guy was a spy who would follow me 10, 15, like as far away the piano is. And wherever I would go, he would go. And wherever I would sleep, he would sleep across the hallway. And then sometimes he would try and disguise it in really stupid ways. So one day I came down from breakfast, and I would wave to him, like we were friends. At the end, I took his picture. But he was like sitting cross-legged at this, and no one in Burma, very few people wear Western clothing, and he would dress up. This is the first day I saw him, and the last day, and no one wears Western clothing, but he was wearing like a Western suit at this nice hotel, with his legs crossed, just like drinking tea, and he had an English newspaper to like, I don't know, I think he was like a business tourist, except the newspaper was upside down. So I went over to him, like flipped the newspaper upside down, because he clearly couldn't speak English. And then I was like, come on, we're going. Like he would follow me, and then they'd switch off. And so it became after that point a little more difficult to navigate my way around Burma, because no one wants to talk to you if they see a spy right next to you. Like, imagine having a conversation with all of your friends, with your parents in the room. Like, it would suck. So this guy is following me around the entire time, and the only way that I can get away from him following me around is at night. We would go into bars, and they love rice whiskey, and I would buy a 75-cent bottle of rice whiskey for his table, and then wait until they got drunk, and then I would sneak out at night and then go meet people. So if you're going to Burma, it's a good tactic. So before we do that, I'll introduce you. So one night I went out, and this is in the second biggest city, Mandalay, and so I would sneak out, and Burma's a Buddhist country, and like the most potent force against the military regime is the monks. There's about 400,000 monks in the country, and a lot of them are very politically active. So I snuck out one day, and a lot of the monks want to practice English and meet a foreigner and tell you what's going on in their country. So I went to a monastery late at night, probably 9 p.m., and met this guy named Swingar, and we spent a night together talking about like what his life was like. And he told me that he had been born in a small village. His parents had been forced to build a road in a military barracks, lost their jobs, couldn't pay for him to get an education, so he moved to Mandalay because monasteries give free educations. And he was about my same age, and I'm not sure at what point in the conversation, but at some point something just clicked that this was fundamentally wrong. That here I am with someone my same age who just happened to be born somewhere else under a different government, who couldn't talk to anyone, couldn't vote, couldn't meet with his friends without being watched, couldn't do anything without feeling scared. And so after I met him, I told him, yeah, when I go back to the United States, I'll do what I can to help you out. And so I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And I came back to the United States, and I started learning a lot more about Burma, which has been under a military dictatorship since 1962. So I think of Burma as kind of a mix between North Korea and Sudan. So it's a dictatorship with one of the worst human rights records in the world. And as I started to learn more about it, I started to learn, does anyone recognize this woman on the cover of Time magazine? 10 points. 10 points, Gryffindor. She's cheating. So I came back and I started learning about it, and then I'll cut to the chase. So when I came back, that was the fall of 2006, and I took the year off from Brown, and I started speaking at some schools about what was going on in Burma. I started raising money for some education projects in Burma, and then the next summer, I went to the Congo, came back from the Congo, and right when I was getting on the plane from Nairobi, a lot of monks had started to march in Burma, including my friend Swingar. So he at that point was on GChat. A few monks have access to GChat. And so I was sitting at Brown, and he was sitting in Mandalay, which is Burma's second biggest city. And he was saying, well, I'm going to go out and join the marches tomorrow. He's like, maybe you should do something. And so I was like, well, here's my time to help out my friend who I'd met over in Burma. And so we had like a group of people at Brown that cared about what was going on, and all of these monks were risking their lives to march in this against the regime. And this picture, this line is actually 1.6 kilometers long of monks. There's about 150,000 monks and people in it. And I thought, if this guy can go out and risk his life and be willing to die and get shot by the regime for some basic rights, then I can do something at Brown.